Welcome to another Connection here on TKO8 Television. Dennis King, thanks for joining us on the Connection Show this week. Each week, actually, we have our show here in Studio B, and we bring in individuals from various organizations to talk about what's going on around our viewing area. We have a lot of great organizations, and hopefully we can disseminate that information back out to you. And many times, we don't know what they tell us, so it gives us an insight on what's going on as well. Stay with us. Be back in a moment. We're going to talk about a big event coming up to Harrison, and actually we're going to talk about one organization that does a lot for the area.
The Townhouse Cafe in downtown Harrison is offering a great reason to wake up on Saturday mornings. Their incredible brunch. Starting at 7 a.m., you can enjoy all of your traditional breakfast favorites or some of these decadent dishes. Eggs Benedict, featuring an English muffin topped with ham, 2 eggs, made any way you like, and topped with fresh-made hollandaise sauce. Plus, you'll also get your choice of hash browns or home fries. Perhaps something even more delectable. Townhouse Cafe's fabulous U.S. farm-raised butterfly trout grilled with a drizzle of hollandaise sauce, 2 eggs any way you like, hash browns or home fries, and either a biscuit or toast on the side. Absolutely delicious. Saturday brunch at the Townhouse Cafe in downtown Harrison.
Back on Connection here on TKO8 Television. Our first 2 guests today in the studio, actually, one's with CASA, so Katie Riley's with CASA, and the other's going to talk about some things that the Chamber is going to be doing. And Casey Whitney, we appreciate you coming in as well.
Thank you.
A big event coming up during the Balloon Festival, if you will, kind of combining some different things, and fundraiser, obviously, for CASA. Before we get into that, maybe Katie, if you I know you're fairly new. How long have you been there with CASA?
I started in April.
Okay, I knew you'd started this year.
Yeah.
A little bit about, first of all, what's CASA stand for a lot of people who don't know that.
CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates. We serve the 14th Judicial District, which covers Boone, Baxter, Marion, and Newton counties.
Okay.
CASA works very closely with the juvenile court system, and we provide one-on-one advocate services for any children that are in the foster care system.
Yes.
You have several parties involved in any foster care case, and our job is to only provide advocacy for the child. So we are the child's voice, essentially, while they navigate the court system.
So you really, obviously, CASA, you interact, there's a lot of different organizations that get involved when you're talking about children, obviously. Grandma's House is a good example, but Department of Human Services, State Police for Kids, so I'm sure you interact with a lot of those.
We do. Now, we're the only organization that's actually appointed by the court, so we have a very unique relationship with the court. We're a volunteer-based organization, so the children are all served by volunteers that have given their time and their energy into making sure that the children are in safe homes, that if possible they can be reunited with their families. We work so closely with all the other organizations just to make sure that whatever is best for that child, that's what's happening in their case.
And I'm sure, like many other organizations that we talk to all the time, when it comes to children, child abuse, whatever, go along that way, the numbers are continuing to grow.
Yes, especially in Boone County. We've seen an influx just recently of children coming into the system. Now, the state, DCFS on the state level has worked very hard to make sure that children are coming out of foster care as quickly as possible and finding a safe and happy resolution. So they're working very hard to make sure that children aren't in the system as long, but unfortunately we have more children coming into the system.
They're coming in faster than you
Faster than we can get them out.
In the 14th district, on any given day, about how many children would you be working with?
We currently have 125 children that we are working with. Now, we can't serve every child in the system. We just don't have enough volunteers. Wish we could, but we can't. So we're servicing 125.
Wow.
On average, we are around half. We service half the children in the area.
So there's twice as many needs as you have.
Yes.
Well, since we're talking about CASA today, and for those of you out there in the viewing audience that may not know what CASA is doing and what Katie's talking about here, obviously you're always in the need of volunteers. If I wanted to volunteer, maybe I don't have a lot of time, but I've got some time. What are you looking at? What would a volunteer have to commit to time-wise, roughly?
Well, basically, we ask that you, it's roughly 15 to 30 hours a month of service time. This includes monthly meetings. You are required to meet with the child once a month. You have to go to any court hearings that the child's involved in. There's interviews with the child's teachers and therapists and anyone else that's involved in providing service to that child.
Okay.
So for those who don't feel like they could commit to being assigned to an individual child, you could also become a friend of CASA. And Friends of CASA work with us in our fundraising efforts and our community education.
Okay. Well, because, there, like I say, some people maybe are retired out there that would say, I could give so many hours, can't do all the time, but maybe they're involved in other organizations, and, there's lots of great organizations that are looking for volunteers. But obviously, you're probably 50% short based on the numbers you're talking
exactly.
about.
There's always a need.
In that thing. So would you say, Katie, that the numbers are going up for a couple of reasons? One, maybe there's more identification earlier than there used to be years ago. I mean, these organizations are identifying situations, maybe I should say.
Exactly. We work in a community where there are so many different organizations who are serving our children. That's so many watchful eyes looking out for those risk signs and those warnings.
Yes.
That definitely helps identify situations earlier. Our police are actively involved in protecting our children, and they, unfortunately, there's a lot of instances where children are harmed in what we would consider nonviolent crimes. Drug-related crimes, where there might not be anyone who is injured and taken to a hospital, but you have a child that's been suffering neglect for months because their parents are abusing drugs.
Yeah.
Those are the situations that the community has really been masterful in helping us identify. It's not the child that's showing up with bruises, it's the child that's showing up and their behavior might be just a little bit off.
Wow.
Those are the cases that we see more often than not.
Wow.
The community has done a really great job of keeping a watchful eye out for our children.
Another entity, I'll say that, the judges, I've heard from, I know all the judges here in the district, and I've heard some really good things from the judges out there who say, without CASA, these young people would not have a voice, and they wouldn't know what to do, actually.
Right.
And it's amazing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah. We're very fortunate in that we can step in and work with the child one-on-one. That isn't a luxury that the Department of Human Services has. That's just not their reality. Right. But we can come in and we can get to know that child. And often a CASA is the most static person involved in a child in foster care system, involved in their life. They are there from the beginning of their case to the very end. Okay. And so that makes a huge difference when they have that one person who they visit with them regularly, they're in their home, they know if they have an issue, they can go to their CASA, they can explain to them what's going on, and the CASA will relay that to the court.
Oh, wow. Do you have would there be any instance out there where a child would have more than one advocate with them?
Yes, we do have several advocates who work together and partner, especially if we have a case where there's multiple children involved. We will double up our CASA. It just kind of takes that workload down a little bit and makes it a little bit easier for the volunteers. And this is a situation where it's very emotionally taxing. Under the best of circumstances, you're dealing with a child that's suffered extreme trauma. Oh, wow. And so it helps us to put two volunteers together to work a case so that they can help share that burden. Great.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes, so we want to get into an event coming up. It's actually, I guess, tying in with the hot air balloon state championships that Harrison has had for years. But you're taking it kind of another step, and I'll let both of you talk about this. Maybe to start with, just kind of overall, why are they doing this year differently?
Well, the Boone County Airport reached out to us and said they would love to partner. And, Judy Mack out at the airport loves to be involved in community things.
Right.
get all that kind of working together. So we sat down and had a meeting and said Friday night and Saturday during the day have been instances where there's not a lot going on. So people that travel from out of town to come to the festivals kind of have some downtime where there's not, it's not like Crawdad Days where it's packed with events from beginning to end. So they sat down, decided they're going to do a concert at the airport on Friday night. The Hare and the Hound race will take off from there. And then Saturday during the day, the airport's having their fly-in, which is free to everybody. So you can come out there, take a look at all the planes, the cars that are going to be there, food vendors, some retail vendors. So there's a lot of exciting new things happening this year.
Okay. Are they still, are they going to do the jump from the aircraft?
The skydiving, yes. Rotary is doing the tandem skydiving.
They're going to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft, right?
I would never do that.
I wouldn't either. Well, that's a little different. That's going to be different.
Yes.
And I've noticed your schedule. There's a lot of activities going on Friday and particularly Saturday, and then even Sunday morning you're doing the.
We do another race on Sunday morning.
Right, Sunday morning.
Usually between 7 and 7:30 a.m. is when the balloons take off and fly, and then we serve them breakfast and announce the winner of the race and then go home. So
and of course this is a perfect time. CASA needs money because you're a nonprofit. You're always so you're going to do some stuff. So
we are. So this time for it'll be our first annual CASA Superhero Run, which will take place out at the Boone County Regional Airport.
Okay.
It starts off at 7 a.m. Now, the Superhero Run is pretty synonymous with CASA. They are held all over the state, really all over the nation.
Okay.
It's a little bit different from your typical 5K because you are encouraged to come out and dress up as your favorite superhero. So our runners are actually dressed up like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, whoever your favorite superhero is. And instead of doing participation T-shirts or medals, we do superhero capes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So we have a 5K for all of our competitive runners out there.
Okay.
It kicks off at 7 a.m. And then at 8 a.m. we have a 1K family fun run.
Right.
So bring the kids out, dress up like your favorite superhero, and you're actually going to get to run down the runway adjacent to the runway at the airport. Now, this is the first time they've ever had an event like this at the airport. So you'll be getting to actually run around the airport and get access to it in a way that no one's ever had before.
Wow,
so that's really interesting.
And then you'll do the awards afterwards.
We'll do the awards. The awards ceremony will be at 8:30.
Okay. Then in the afternoon, let's see what you got going. CASA, the Kids Fest in the afternoon around 4 o'clock.
So we're going to switch gears and go down to the soccer complex, the Ann Staff Soccer Complex. And everything gets started at 4 p.m. We'll have bounce houses and obstacle courses, pony rides, and a petting zoo, carriage rides, some different motorized cars. BACA will be down there, which is Bikers Against Child Abuse. They're going to come down and do some face painting and temporary tattoos. And
cool.
we have all kinds of events. We've got local vendors that are coming down. Most of them are children-oriented vendors. So a lot of our area children's clothing stores, I think some daycares are going to be down there, and they're all going to have little activities for the children.
So that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I like the way you've combined this because it really does. You're right. We were just talking about, Casey mentioned, usually Balloon Festival is just, you watch the balloons go up and they go away. You can't see them.
Yeah,
it's not like you can set up a stadium or something.
Right.
So this gives a kind of a weekend thing.
Exactly.
Plus it helps CASA out. And hopefully I hope you raise a lot of money from this. I know you'll get good exposure from it. But I think we covered everything.
Don't forget the tethered rides start around 6:30 p.m. So CASA starts at 4, which is all free, correct?
Okay.
Everything.
And then the tether rides.
And then the tethered rides start around 6:30. We've got 10 balloonists that are tethering this year, which is
so that'll be fun.
More than we've
that's
ever
always
had.
That's always a lot of fun too. Yeah. Thank you both for coming in. I really appreciate it. Katie, it's nice to meet you, and we want to have you back, CASA. We've always supported CASA through the years. And Casey, thank you for talking about what's going on with the chamber, and good luck with your new job. We thank you both, and thanks for your volunteerism and all the help that you do here. Don't forget about the Big Balloon Festival weekend. Lots of activities going on September 8th through the 10th. Part of it down on the creek at the soccer fields, the rest out at the Boone County Airport. Stay with us. We're going to talk with two ladies in a moment about another event coming up this week, a little unique on Connection.
Sullivan Pharmacy has been serving your prescription needs for over 40 years. Our professional staff is glad to assist you with prescriptions, over-the-counter medicines, and healthcare products. Stop by Sullivan Pharmacy if you have questions about Medicare Part D, and we'll be glad to help. If you're in a hurry, use our convenient drive-through window so you don't have to get out of your car. Sullivan Pharmacy, 731 North Main Street in Harrison, helping you feel better since 1965.
Many things have changed over the years, and so has auto body repair. Even though Ozark Auto Body has been in business for over 30 years, they continue to change with the times. They believe protecting the environment is important and have done so by using environmentally friendly waterborne paint from PPG. This aligns with the technology used by original manufacturers and gives you a lifetime limited warranty. Quality PPG waterborne paint, ASC certified personnel, plus 24-hour towing service. Ozark Auto Body in Harrison, always taking pride in excellence. Back on Connection here on TKO8 Television. Dennis King, thanks for joining us on the show this week. Our next two guests in the studio really here to talk about an event coming up this week. It's a little different but very important event, and it has to do with overdose. Can be different types of drugs, but overdose. Shirley Smothers and Chrissy Larsace, thank you so much for coming in today. And we want to talk about, of course, Shirley, she's involved with the school district and deals with families and like lots of situations. We just talked with the CASA people. It's always drugs somewhere along the way that there's drug problems, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's methamphetamine or marijuana or something. It can be just drugs that pharmacists put forth, and that's gotten to be a major problem. Yeah. Shirley, why don't you kind of kick it off a little bit about what's going to happen here, and then we'll kind of throw it over on Chrissy and put her on the spot, okay?
All right, that sounds good. I'm a member of the Substance Abuse Prevention Committee here in town, and so that's kind of how I got involved in this. But we're going to have the Region 2 Prevention Resource Center is going to be sponsoring Candlelight Vigil. It's Overdose Awareness Candlelight Vigil, and it's going to be held on August the 31st at 7:30 p.m., and it will last until 8:30 at the Minnie Harris Park. And everyone that wants to attend can get a silver ribbon that they can pick up at the Community Health Resource Center here in town at the Duran Center, and wear that ribbon. And Chrissy's going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Yes, let's talk about it, Chrissy.
Well, thanks for having us here today to talk about this. But August 31st is the International Overdose Awareness Day. That's why we're doing it on Thursday. And the Region 2 prevention provider brought this to our attention, and we have collaborated together with Drug-Free Communities, which I'm a part of. I'm a youth program coordinator with the Drug-Free Communities. Right. And our Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, and our VISTA workers. We're all putting this together, and it's mainly it's to aim to bring awareness to the community on overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. Too often we associate overdose with addicts. And overdose can happen to you or me or any of us, depending on if we're prescribed a medication for a virus or something, and then we have a backache and we take a pain pill to help our back, and we think innocently we're not doing anything wrong, and that is wrong in itself, because we need to educate ourselves on how medications affect each of us, and how different medications don't always go together. Yeah. And also, when you're getting a new medication, we don't know. You could take a medication that you'd be just fine, and I could take the same medication because I have a backache and say, here, I just got these and they work fine for me, and it could be detrimental to me, because of our body chemistry is not the same. So we don't, it's not necessarily about addicts that overdose. Regular people taking medicine out of their medicine cabinets can accidentally overdose.
You know, and the thing they talk about, even the president, and it's a national, it's a worldwide, but particularly in the United States, it is pharmaceutical drugs that are purchased with a good intention. In some cases, not always, but in some cases a good intention. Those drugs go into a family. Let's say one of the parents has got a backache or had surgery or whatever. The drugs hang around. Sometimes you've got teenagers in the home or young children. Well, they see them taking it and they think, well, it's okay for them, it's okay for me. So they take it, and obviously the reaction is totally different. Everybody has a different reaction to it. But, you know, even locally, we've tried to do a better job of having the disposal of drugs like that, where you can take it anytime to the sheriff's departments in any of the counties around here, and then they even have a collection day or 2 or 3 times a year. But you see and read about it every day, where there's millions of deaths across the United States. In fact, I pulled up, you may have some numbers there, but I was looking at just in Boone County. Over 45% of the students in Boone County, they say, are somehow utilizing some of these drugs. And obviously, Shirley, you're in the school district, and I'm sure you see and have to deal with it with families and students all the time. You know,
I don't think it. I think drug use impacts everyone's lives, and a lot of people. I don't think they really realize how much. And I think. I don't care where you're working at or what you're doing, you're going to cross that somewhere.
And the thing about it is, even it's not necessarily young people, but they talk about seniors, older people.
And that's even more prevalent.
Yeah, where you have maybe one senior in the household. As you get a little older, you forget sometimes or whatever, and you get the aches or pains, and you're saying, well, my wife's got these pills. They helped her. I might as well take a couple. But that's not necessarily a good situation.
Or if I'm taking one pill, then if it's not working, I'm going to take another one.
Right.
And maybe you're not supposed to take it, but every 4 hours. But they'll take it every 2 hours, and then they have a buildup of that type of medication. It can become toxic.
Right.
And so that's what this awareness is about. It's about education, about being vigilant on what you're putting, what you're taking as far as medication, and this. Awareness, our candlelight vigil on Thursday, is also to help remember family and friends, struck by the grief of family and friends, and to remember the ones that have passed on as a result of drug overdose.
Right.
So this is a community event that we really want the community to rally around and be a part of the healing process and the education process in overcoming this epidemic that's going on in the United States right now.
Yeah, I was looking again some numbers. About 53,000 people a year die for overdose, and that's people who die from it. Many times they catch it in time and maybe save them, but that doesn't have anything to do with the problem of these drugs.
Well, some of the statistics too. You can look online about the overdose statistics, and in Arkansas, it's 12.6 deaths per 100,000 people.
12.6.
12.6, and we are just about in the middle out of the 50 states. The least amount is in North Dakota, where it's 3 deaths per 100,000.
Right.
Where the most severe case is in West Virginia, and it's 31.3 deaths per 100,000 people.
Wow.
And that's a lot. And I've been a drug counselor in Boone County for about 12 years, and actually it was about 10 and a half years. I've been in prevention the last couple of years. But in Boone County, as a drug counselor, we lost 8 teenagers in 10 years.
Wow. Just teenagers?
Just teenagers.
Wow.
And one teen, that's just unacceptable. And
so where do you go? I mean, we're going to have this candlelight vigil, but how do you, is it awareness? You have to get more awareness out there? How do you slow this thing down?
Awareness and education.
Yeah.
I think is a big thing. I don't think the citizens of Boone County are really aware of the problem, and I think this will be a good start to help people better understand and become more aware that it actually is a problem. It's kind of hidden, and I think there's also a lot of deaths that are associated with a drug overdose, but probably not counted towards drug overdose, such as car accidents and suicides and things like that.
Well, not only that, a lot of, because of the intensity and influx of methamphetamine in the United States. When you hear of an overdose, most people say, oh, well, they got overdosed on meth. But that's not always the case.
Not always.
I think people would be surprised if they really checked into it and looked at some of your numbers here and talked to people, that the number of deaths from pharmaceutical drugs. People don't think about that. I mean, they just don't think about it.
It's not just pharmaceutical either. You can, the over-the-counter drugs
are
just
as
dangerous.
Yeah,
and
some
people
of it
think that just because, they can buy it at the pharmacy or they can buy it at Walmart over the counter, that it's safe. And like Shirley said just earlier, well, if one doesn't work, maybe 2 or 3 will make it work faster. And people don't realize when you're going to take that one pill that's going to put you over, that you are now an addict.
And
we don't know where that line is.
Right.
And also, people on prescription drugs a lot of times are still able to function.
Right.
Where if they're on different other types of drugs, they're not able to function as well. I mean, there's a lot of people out there on the streets right now probably that are functioning very well on prescription drugs and just close to overdose, but it's kind of hidden. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think we really
right.
count that.
Yeah, and they talk about doctors prescribing medications and how, some doctors are just easy to write a script and give it to you, where it's maybe oxycodone or Oxycontin or some of the drugs that you really can get high, and, they can kill you very quickly if you take an overdose. But as you mentioned, even over-the-counter stuff that you can buy, if you read on the back of some of those medications, it's pretty obvious that they can cause severe damage and death if you take more than the prescribed amount.
Right.
And did we cover everything pretty well here? Did we miss? Got a couple minutes left.
Contact phone number if they want some information might be.
Well, you can contact the Duran Center.
NAFI, would that be NAFI down there?
Right.
Okay.
And be sure to come to the Duran Center or at the North Ark Medical Center where we're giving
pick up your
the silver ribbons.
Our little silver ribbons that we are all wearing. Okay. And just one of the other things that I just want to really mention is another reason for this is this overdose is so preventable, and that's what we're here is try to prevent.
Okay.
And the motto that goes with overdose awareness is, and with our candlelight vigil, it's a time to remember and a time to act.
Okay.
And that's what we want to
get across to people.
Get across to people.
Very good. Thank you both for coming in today. We appreciate it. And for those of you in the viewing audience, again, it's called International Overdose Awareness Day. It's a national, international day that they're trying to make everybody aware of the problems with overdose and death. And here in Harrison, it'll be Thursday, August 31st at Minnie Harris Park, 7:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. Don't forget to go by and get your silver ribbons. You can go by the NAFI office or go by the college and pick those up to support the organization and support the cause. And we appreciate you both coming in for all the work that you're doing for the program. Shirley, thanks for coming in today, and Chrissy, both of you. And I hope the event comes big and continue to do it year in, year out, I'm sure, in the future to support the program. Thanks for joining us on our Connection Show today. We hope we got some information to you perhaps you didn't know about. And join us each week as we have individuals from various organizations come in to talk about what should be important to you, what's going on around our broadcast area. We'll see you again next time on Connection.
KTKO Channel 8 Harrison, local television worth watching.